But we are going to shift gears. We have a live guest joining us again this morning. It is West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. Not his first time on NewsNOW from Fox. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us again this morning. How are you doing?
Hey, it's good to join you bright and early from wild and wonderful West Virginia.
All right, so we talked before about kind of warning President Joe Biden, hey, stay the course, don't do anything illegal, and we won't have any issues with you. Now, you have joined a 21-state coalition in filing suit to oppose the president's efforts to halt construction on the Keystone XL pipeline. Could you please tell us more about that?
Absolutely. As many people may remember, on day one, President Biden issued a flurry of executive orders. And one of those orders was to withdraw approval for the Keystone pipeline. And there were some immediate estimates that over 11,000 people were going to lose their jobs. There's some job loss in West Virginia as well. So the more we looked at that, we thought that the president acted way too quickly. Whenever you engage in the kind of decision that the president did, you actually have to be thoughtful. You have to have reasoned decision making. When you walk in at day one, you don't set up the rationale, you don't examine all the pros and cons. We think what he did is violative of administrative law. And that's why a lot of states have stepped up to say, no, this is not proper. This went through the right process the first way. A president just can't come in on day one and change his mind the way he did. That's why 21 states have set forth a lawsuit challenging it. And this is one of the first shots in the broader fight over his Green New Deal efforts. We know they're getting ready to roll out a lot of new initiatives. We're prepared. Whenever he crosses the legal line, we'll step up and we'll sue.
If you wouldn't mind, can you kind of elaborate about the Keystone XL pipeline, where it runs from and what exactly it transports?
Yeah, it really comes down through the Canadian border and obviously runs through different states, Montana and Nebraska, and then dumps all the way down into the Gulf Coast. And so this is a pipeline that's very important for the U.S. There are a lot of jobs all along the pipeline. There's a lot of revenue for the states. And as many people watching know, this has been heavily discussed over a long period of time. There have been billions and billions of dollars invested into this pipeline. I think one of the things which really people can't stand about government is you go through this long process, you get an approval for a major construction project, and then someone comes in and tries to do an after-the-fact veto. That's effectively what's happened here. But the president didn't go through any of the right processes in order to try to withdraw his approval. We think that's improper. So this is a really big deal as part of a global effort to kind of wire up and have pipelines across our country. We know here in West Virginia, pipelines are very important. I've fought and we've had two big wins on pipeline issues at the U.S. Supreme Court in recent years. But these are critical. And in fact, we would argue they're safer than a lot of the other efforts to transform fossil fuels across the country.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Morrisey, can you please tell me exactly what the lawsuit asked the court to do?
Yeah, we're asking to stop the president's declaration effectively. We think that this has to go through a normal administrative process so that you actually have to engage in reasoned decision making. Though we think it's arbitrary and capricious under the law. So we're asking really to reverse the president's decision, to put an injunction on it, and then say, look, if you're going to go through the process, the regulatory process, it has to be through normal notice and comment rulemaking. It has to be done the right way under regulatory law. They don't do that. Now, there are other arguments that we're making as well from a constitutional perspective, but I think that the legal and the regulatory pieces, these are our strongest arguments that we need to emphasize.
Now, I'm reading the lawsuit right now. It's a 46-page document that was actually filed last week on St. Patrick's Day, and it appears that it was filed in Texas. So I do want to read all of the states off. Correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I did find this online, but it's the state of Texas, Montana, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, Indiana, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Utah, West Virginia, and the state of Wyoming. That's all 21 states.
That's right. A heck of a good list and a really good start. And this effort was filed in Texas. I think that there is a lot of appreciation for the kind of issues that are going to be considered here. And so obviously, whenever we're considering filing action against the Biden administration, you look at the courts with the kind of expertise and experience where you may want to file. So I think that's what happened here. And so we try to work with our sister states. There are matters that you're going to hear about in the next week or so that a lot of states are going to be involved in. We'll probably break up into different parts of the country in order to make sure that that expertise is present when we file the litigation.
When you're talking about end goal here, the ultimate hope, is it the economy, is it jobs, or is it kind of pushing back on what you consider the war on fossil fuels?
I think there are a couple things. First, these are really important jobs for so many hardworking Americans. And whenever you think about all this Green New Deal, these initiatives that are in place, what they do is they say, well, we're going to promise these amazing jobs out into the future, but you have to give up your fossil fuel, your manufacturing jobs right now. That's not how the world works. And in fact, if you look at what happened out in California with the rolling blackouts, you look at what happened in Texas when they stopped really using some of the reliable fuels that were critical and that they had so many problems with some of the blackouts recently. We have to have a plan in place across our country that there's a reliable and energy independent approach to how Americans receive their energy. I think that's what this is all about. It's about following the rules. It's about protecting jobs. And it's about opposing Biden overreach. We think when you come in on day one, you can't be thoughtful. You can't do it the right way. That's what happened here.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell me that I may have not asked?
No, I appreciate you having me on today. This is just one of many efforts we're going to be pursuing in order to make sure that that Green New Deal doesn't just go through the executive process. It's going to have to go through Congress, and we're going to be ready to fight it if they cross the line.
All right, West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey joining us yet again live on News Now from Fox. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.